if it ever loads.
Got the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block. Helmets, casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision. We got too many. Get the check. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just drop. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? DFS Generates, Late Swap Warriors, welcome to the DFS Army Breakdown MLB show where the stacks are spicy, the weather is sketchy, and the tilt is always free. I'm your boy, your name, your friendly neighborhood slate navigator, and we've got a loaded show for you today. We're back checking the skies with our weather radar goggles, breaking down the pitchers who might actually survive 5 innings, and diving into stacks that will either win you the slate or make you throw a soda at your cat. Plus, we're going to save time at the end for all of your questions. So drop them in the chat room faster than the Pirates can drop games in August. And now it's time for the man, the myth, the model spitting machine who may or may not have been programmed in a secret lab underneath Coors Field. It's Razzle, my boy, Raz GPT. What's cooking, brother? Are you waking up bullish on chalk today, or are you getting weird today? Which way are we going?
Since the leverage stack was down for part of the day, I have not looked, so I don't know if I'm super chalky or not. I assume I am.
Okay.
Just because I absolutely love Texas, and I guess most people are going to love them.
Either way, guys, you guys got you got an AI scripted intro there. If you couldn't pick up on the cheesy jokes and the one-liners, and of course the fact that I put in your name here instead of saying that I'm your boy Chop It On, I just wanted to see how that would work. So if you want to get in the comments and let me know if you like those little scripted intros, I can either create them myself or have AI do it. I wanted to throw the Raz GPT joke in there. We'll see where he goes. I was very serious about the question, though, in terms of being bullish on chalk and whether or not we're going to get funky. It's a 10-game slate. There's really not a lot of weather to talk about. I know that the weather station is up and running, so we might as well just share that dude right now just to show you guys. Thanks for piling in as always. You know, DFS Army MLB Live coupon code down there at the bottom, scrolling across the banner. There's not a lot of weather. It's warm, it's hot, it's summer, we get it, and there's just not a lot of chances of in-game whisker delays. Maybe watch Minnesota a little bit, which may or may not be pushing some of the ownership down a little bit going up against Dickie Fitz. We'll see how that plays out. I'll probably call up the Carnage Report instead. Actually, I'm going to go to the chalk first. I just want to talk a little bit of chalk with Razzle. Razzle's the GPP mind. I would have done this. I probably would think differently than he did. I was thinking about walking through a little bit ahead of time, but we're not going to worry about it. We'll let Razzle do it. I'm seeing Valdez, Cease, DeGrom up top, Sanchez fourth in ownership from about 20%, cut in half down to about 10%. But on Carnage Report, Valdez and Sanchez had the best K scores going. So do you agree with the chalk, or would you put Sanchez up a little bit higher? Where are you going today?
I mean, I definitely agree with Valdez at home. He's just phenomenal. I want DeGrom more than I want Christopher Sanchez. On DraftKings, DeGrom's $200 cheaper. His K matchup is better than Sanchez. So for me, it's DeGrom. Valdez and DeGrom right now are projected as the highest owned. I love Sanchez. I hate the price point.
Mm-hmm.
The White Sox have been scoring runs. I don't think there's as much K upside for the White Sox right now. But, I mean, I just love him as a pitcher. I tend to be afraid to go back to a guy after they throw complete games with the way that today's baseball has become. And Sanchez is coming off of a complete game. So I don't know. I'm torn. Like, I'm such a big Sanchez fan, but like, I kind of want to go a little underweight on him.
No, it looked to me, given that matchup and without the numbers that you threw, and I know the White Sox have been doing a little bit of damage, it looked to me like he might be a good leverage spot, honestly. But if his innings are capped, like you said, then it might fall flat.
I mean, I guess it's tough for me to think leverage just because he's the fourth highest own, I believe. I guess I removed some pitchers in my pool already.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, it's tough to get real leverage in that instance. You know, really the leverage would become like, are you just going to completely fade Spencer Strider, DeGrom, or Valdez and just put all that percentage into Sanchez? I don't think that's the right move.
Well, Strider's way
overall,
down here.
Yeah, I mean he's just like up there in 10K, so like in the similar price range.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't know. It's just tough. I just don't think, like, if everybody throws their best game, I don't think Sanchez's ceiling meets the same as Valdez, DeGrom, even Strider on this slate, which is
It's
tough.
interesting.
Like I mentioned,
You say that. There are 5 pitchers at 10K plus, one at 9,900 in Matthew Boyd and one at 9,600 in Luis Castillo. I know you'll probably get on them eventually, but looking at that initial pricing makes me wonder about Luis Castillo versus the A's too, because I think the A's might be in leverage stacks, might be the top leverage stack tonight. Why is that?
Luis Castillo's not good on the road. And obviously this ballpark in Sacramento is very offensive.
Okay, it's probably more
fairly left-hand heavy lineup. So it's just, to me, it's not a good spot. So like Castillo's not even in my pool.
Not even in your pool at all. Okay. Sorry, I'm opening a soda here. That's interesting because, I mean, I'm just seeing, I'm going off of the name. I mean, and the upside that I've seen in the past and whatever. That's what I was wondering. And the A's are not maybe the threat that they were month and a half ago. So it seemed. I might be wrong again because we had a bachelor party for my future son-in-law this weekend, and I've been totally unplugged from baseball for 3 days. So I'm going to be talking like a newbie today, I'm sure, as I try to kind of get back into the flow of things.
I mean, most of the A's lineup has cooled down from their hot start to the season, but it's still in Sacramento at that minor league ballpark. Nick Kurtz is hitting everything.
I think Rooker hit one recently.
Rooker, Langeliers has been rolling as well. Like, I just doesn't feel like a good spot for Castillo in general. And I've said earlier in the season where it looked like his K numbers have kind of regressed. So, like, I just don't know that he has enough upside to, to rival those other expensive guys.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
that's probably all those little things are probably going through people's minds too. But when we kind of try to play DFS, we're trying to think of what the other people are doing and then decide if we want to do it or go a different direction. The A's being the number one leverage team, in my opinion. I don't know what their IRT is yet. Their IRT is probably pretty high. But I'm trying to think of – because, DFS, the casual players, the stuff these projections are usually based off of are not the sharpest – pencils in the box, if you will. So there's got to be something obvious that even I'm being too stupid to understand today. So that's why I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to be ballpark weather.
IRT is over 5.2. So, I mean, it's the game with a total like 10.5, I'm guessing.
And I should say their ownership isn't like through the roof or anything. I think on the leverage sheet, they're one of the second lowest owned teams or one of the top or bottom 2 owned teams on the slate. So nobody's really on the Athletics either. Maybe that's why they're generating so much leverage. But for an IRT of 5.2, that's weird. That's confusing to me. I hate it when I get confused by the numbers and you have to really dig a little bit deeper to pick them apart. So I'm glad we're doing the show with you today.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I don't really dictate my stacks and everything on IRT alone.
For sure.
Because there's a lot of IRTs to me that just don't make sense. when I get into it. I mean, an example tonight would be Houston's at almost 5.5. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me because of the lineup they've been running out there due to injuries, etc. But they're popping in the leverage stack sheet.
They really are.
I mean, I can obviously tell you they're not going to be a tier 1 or tier 2 stack for me.
I was going to say, I just was going to throw that out there, everybody, that we just got a hint there that they're probably not a tier 1 stack.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know we're looking at pitching, but like, since I brought up Houston, like, there's so much green on the leverage sheet, but then you look at average projected points. I obviously don't care about point projections.
You've said that a time or two.
Their average projected points is like 2 points per guy lower than Philadelphia. So like, I don't understand all the green across the board and then that number being super low and in red. Like, there's things that kind of just don't make sense.
Yeah.
So I lean more towards that red side than all that green for Houston.
You aren't going to hear arguments out of me for there. I haven't been on Houston all year myself yet for any stretch of time where I just felt like I just can't not play them.
Yeah, so they're more of a cash game team. They're cheap. In my All-Star break research, they led baseball as a team in batting average. They're just a team that would get on base, but they're just not doing a whole lot.
And made no noise about it at all.
Right.
Nobody would ever guess that.
They have a great record. Like, they're winning games because of their pitching is the biggest thing. And then just add in that they've been missing Jeremy Pena, Paredes. I think Jake Myers has been injured too. Just a number of guys. And then Christian Walker's actually struggled quite a bit. They've been relying on Victor Caratini hitting third, which I don't think any successful major league team would do for a long period of time.
This is where if I had more free time, and so I'm telling people, that are watching this more than anything, if you're really wanting to dive deep and do a little bit of research, go back test through the season, get your GPP cut line numbers or even your cash game cut line numbers and learn from that. Houston, if they're leading the MLB in team batting average and whatnot at the All-Star break, go back prior to the All-Star break and discover what they were able to win you. Because even if you 4-man stack them, if they're, viable in cash games, they bring a lot of value that allows you to get away from them in a few other spots. You might stack 3 of them or 4 of them, whatever. And it's not for the correlation effect. It'd be for the value effect and the fact that they're just out producing their salaries, and they might not have the upside to win tournaments or get you deep into the money in tournaments because they don't have the power in a home run inflated scoring system, but they might be plenty good enough to just drive you double ups after double ups after double ups. And if you can discover that back in May, June, whatever, and learn from it and catch on faster than the field, then you actually get ahead of the pricing curve. And if you can get ahead of the pricing curve, man, you can do a lot of damage in DFS. But, that's its own little tip. Do you have anything else on pitchers? Because we really didn't touch on them much before we started combining with bats. I'd rather just probably give you another few minutes to round out the pitchers because I don't have much to add other than who the chalky pitchers are.
I'm trying to think. Carson Wisenhunt making his debut in San Francisco against a weak Pitt offense is interesting. I'm trying to take his numbers in AAA this year with a grain of salt because he's pitching in the PCL, which is a huge offensive minor league. But his K numbers have taken a hit this year, more than a K per inning up until this season. So he's interesting in that he's 7K and in the ballpark that I love taking pitching. So, like, for me, it feels like a lot of GPP lineups are going to be paired with, with one of the expensive guys just to make things work, because Philadelphia is expensive. The Cubs are expensive if you're using them, which They didn't make my top 12, but it's very interesting against Mizorowski.
Nobody guessed Cubs when we get to the stack portion.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're taking on Mizorowski, who's been obviously
Right.
the talk of everything. And Mizorowski's in my pitcher pool as a strong GPP option, but there's a ton of volatility there. Threw 65 pitches last time out. Could throw 65 again, could throw 85. We don't really know. It's obviously an important game, so I would think Milwaukee lets him go more the 85 pitch route. But he's 7 innings away from his professional innings high on the season, so they might tone it down a little bit. The one reason I thought about the Cubs as a stack is, while Mizorowski can strike out a ton of people, he can struggle with left-handed bats, and the Cubs have plenty of dangerous left-handed bats to throw at him. So I'm using Mizorowski, but I'm really hoping that his ownership percentage stays low so I don't have to go heavy to be overweight. Because if it gets up there to 20% or so, then I'm going to end up having to be underweight. Mitch Keller, I obviously like the matchup or the ballpark for Mitch Keller. The worry is he gets traded between now and game time. He's one of the big names being floated around as, one of the only starting pitchers really available. So he could be traded before he even starts. He could be traded 2-3 innings into the game. If he looks sharp.
When is the deadline?
Pull him immediately. So that's my huge worry, but I really like the spot for him. He's been phenomenal on the road. And like I mentioned again, that ballpark is perfect for pitching.
When is the trade deadline?
Thursday. So we're a few days away. This would be his last start before the deadline.
That's going to mess our shows up, man, because those things, sometimes it's hard to say something about somebody, because you're going to end up getting them pulled or scratched or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
weird times.
Dylan Cease is drawing a bunch of ownership. Dylan Cease is one that's been floated around as being available. There's been rumors that San Diego's offered him in trades for an outfielder. So there's always a chance he gets scratched too tonight. So for that reason, I'm gonna probably end up underweight on Dylan Cease.
Yeah, and kind of hope he gets scratched.
It's not the easiest of matchups, even though the Mets have struggled a little bit recently. The Mets don't strike out a ton, and with Cease, you need strikeouts because he just allows walks and base runners. So you need those strikeouts to offset stuff. Chase Burns and Yamamoto in that matchup, and that ballpark is small. Burns gives up home runs taking on the Dodgers, but there's a lot of K upside in his arm.
Right.
So, to me, there's a lot of pitchers that are viable. My pitcher pool got down to all of 11. It's the largest it's been all season, and I considerably could have added 2 or 3 other ones to the pool. I couldn't make percentages work if I go
for those
larger.
That haven't seen the Carnage report yet, there's a lot of blue on it in that whole strikeout column. K-score and VK score both. There's a lot of blue on it. So that would explain why it's a pretty deep slate tonight for pitching. With Dylan Cease, let's just pretend, let's hypothetically pretend that you get into the game because he's pitching it at home, right? It's not at New York.
Yeah.
So therefore it's at San Diego. That means we might get up 7, 8 o'clock. What if he's a last minute scratch? The slate's already been going for an hour or two, and now you have to panic swap him with somebody. Who else on the West Coast would you swap in for your Dylan Cease lineups if that happens?
Then it's like you swap to Mitch Keller, who obviously could get scratched as well. You'd probably then have to go from Cease to Luis Castillo in a spot that you don't love. You might go from Cease to Montes on the other side in that matchup. I just don't like it just because San Diego doesn't strike out all that much. But that's really it for the West Coast, right? You go Cease to Wizenhunt, I guess, and just eat money, unless you have a bat you can upgrade.
You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. You've only got 4 games, so that does give you some teams. But That's why I ask. You're gonna panic switch because you can't just go to DeGrom because it's whatever $1,000-$1,500 more expensive.
Right.
You're probably screwed there. Everyone would love to I'll just go to DeGrom. Right. But that's gonna be cost prohibitive. Who else do you see down there? Because I saw Mizrowski in terms of K upside, but then again, it is the Cubs, and it could go either way. He can get blown up. I mean, we've seen that too. Let's just do that. Let's do the stacks. Let's see who you're targeting as pitching. That would be a good one for people to kind of start chiming in on because we got a couple teams we can eliminate. And you can see here with the implied run total, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 teams over a 5.0. We know from some of the historic charts that anything about over 4.5, 80% of the time your stack comes from that. But you got to bear in mind that when that's 11 teams or something like that, well, hell, you'd hope you could narrow it down to 11 teams and have the nut stack in your pool. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4 over a 5.5. You might start there. I would guess. Well, actually, I'll let you guys guess at who you think. We know he's questioning Houston. We know he didn't. I want to say it was the Cubs. I didn't write it down, but there's some that are not on that stack. So, question time, answer time, comment time for everybody. Who do you think's in tier 1? Let's see if we can nail these tier 1 teams because they're going to be right there on that leverage stacks sheet. And I'll knock out the first one. It's not going to be Atlanta, is it?
Atlanta did not make tier 1.
There we go. Because that's one of these, and I'll show people in a minute when I scroll over to the right. This is one of those situations where, again, 10 games, a lot of teams, not too terribly worried about ownership top to bottom. Maybe a little, but not terribly. Excuse me. And 76 is not a high total ownership number for when I pulled up leverage stacks a little while ago. I doubt it's changed a ton, but you drop off to like 56, 46%, 57%. It's not like that looks like a big drop off. But let me scroll over and show you guys something. When you get over to the leverage rank, according to the tool, your chalky team is 13th in leverage. And right below it, the next 6 teams are 1 through 6 in whatever order you want to rank them. So we'll see how many of these are in Razzle's top tier. We know Houston isn't. We know Atlanta isn't. If what I'm getting at, I guess, is if any night said, quote unquote, fade the chalk. If Atlanta's carrying the ownership and Atlanta's 13th ranked leverage team and all these 6 teams below them are carrying more leverage, feels like tonight could be a fade the chalk kind of night. And so the fact that they're not in tier 1 means they might be in tier 2 or tier 3. Are you going to be overweight or underweight on Atlanta? Or are you going to try to predict and aim for being overweight or underweight on Atlanta yourself?
I think based on how my percentages work, if I add it correctly, I am going to be slightly overweight on Atlanta.
Overweight. Okay, so you actually do like them for not being in tier 1, huh?
Tier 2 teams should, for me, end up as a 10 or 12% stack in how I run things, which at 10%, I believe should be over our projected ownership for Atlanta.
Okay.
10% on, I can't get 10% on all the guys, but 10% on most of the guys, like I'm probably going to be, right above them. It's tough to do the math to get it to compare apples to apples. But I would say a 10% main stack of Atlanta would put me over the field.
Okay.
On a such a large slate.
And that's
smaller slate, like smaller slate, 10% isn't going to put you over the chalky teams.
Right. Don asked a quick question, then I'll get to Edward and DePrince's guesses. Brewers pitcher to get 4 Ks is minus 750, and he's just kind of looking for a parlay piece. Would you take that? I don't think I'd take anything at minus 750 myself.
I think I'd rather just use the 5Ks number.
Yeah, buy it up.
Yeah. I mean, he's a big strikeout guy, so like strikeouts definitely going to be there, but my 750 is such a huge number,
Right.
that it can't really help your parlay all that much. Like if you remove that from the parlay, I don't think your payout's going to change all that drastically. So yeah, I'd rather go with the 5 or even over 5.5 to get to the 6 number. Because strikeout should be there.
Fair enough.
The problem is worrying about pitch count.
Edward says Seattle for tier 1.
Seattle did not make tier 1.
Wow. Edward, that's where I was going to go. And that's why when I stopped and said I want to get some comments in here. Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave him maybe for a tier 2 guess because we know you kind of like Seattle from time to time. How about Texas? DePrince wants Texas.
Texas is my number 1 team on the board.
So for you non-math majors out there, that will be a tier 1 team.
It is a tier 1 team, my number 1 overall team. They've hit Kachanowicz hard. I mean, like 20 base runners in 2 games and 7 1/3 against him this season. Just a bunch of hits against them. Left-handed heavy gives Kachanowicz troubles, and then Semien and Adalis Garcia's right-handed bats, I think, are combined. What did I say? 9 for 18 against him. I think Garcia has a couple bombs. Like, just so much lining up for Texas. Add in that they're on the road, and I like it, just slightly more.
So that means you're going to be well overweight the field on them.
That I should be well overweight, yeah.
And so Don got that one too. Any other guesses, guys, or I'm just going to start ripping the list? The last thing I'm going to do is sit here and do cricket space and do my thing. So we know Atlanta's tier 2. We know Seattle is – we don't know where they are. We just know they're not in tier 1. We know Texas is tier 1. You mentioned Philly was expensive. You like Philly. You mentioned Houston was not going to be on tier 1 or tier 2 anyway. So that only leaves a few of these other guys. Just leaving that out there. Phillies, that's where I would have gone next. Man, Edward and I are thinking like we are like eye to eye right now. Phillies
are my other tier 1 team.
Bingo.
I hate it at the same time because they're so expensive. I also don't necessarily love the fact that Davis Martin's more reverse splits than true splits, because that feels like I have to rely more on the Philly right-handed bats, which I generally don't love. I can never get Castellanos right, but at least I like the way that Real Muto is swinging it, and I'm using Harper and Schwarber against any pitcher in baseball. I don't really care. But they're the most expensive stack, I think, on the board.
Yeah, I was going to ask what makes
or the Cubs, I guess, could be more. But
I was going to ask what makes you kind of like them so much against your will. Is it that tonight's a deeper pitching slate, and so your options to get excited about are less, and therefore you kind of land on Philly for those reasons you just mentioned and have to just eat the freaking price, and you're not happy about that as well?
Yeah, pretty much it. Obviously, one of the worst pitchers on the slate, so we're going to attack there. Helps that they're on the road. I've been trying to lean more towards road teams whenever possible as tiebreakers, just so I can get the extra at bat for sure. Just because I've been sick of recent close calls where I've dropped late. But yeah, Philly, just because of their power, Trey Turner is always fine too. They just have the power that we're looking for. And they're a stack that's generally centralized among the same group of players. And I like that a little bit more. It's a team that end up being super spread out that makes it tough.
Yeah, for real.
Because you can be on them and still get your ass handed to you because it was the bottom of the lineup or whatever. I feel like for the most part, Philly's not that team.
Well, in my head, I always get stuck on one, on that side of the coin where I'm excited that I can pin the production in those top 6 bats whatever, and I can largely avoid 7, 8, 9 or 8, 9 or whatever. But then I go like our old softball teams. The bottom of the order sucks. You never turn your lineup over and get those extra at bats anyway. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the at bats that we are getting, we just get a ton of home run upside, and
Correct.
that's obviously what I'm going to rely on.
It relates back to
but
softball and why I'm at the bottom of the order in softball. No power.
There's a bunch of on base upside with them. So like their home runs aren't solo home runs.
Right.
They're stolen bases with, Trey Turner and Bryce Harper even runs. Schwarber will even run now. I mean, there's more to it than just a bunch of solo home runs with Philly.
But you still like Texas a little bit more.
I do like the matchup a bit more.
So then we've got Atlanta in tier 2. We need another tier 2. Do you have 2 or 3 tier 2 teams today? Just 2?
I have three tier 2 teams.
So let's see. Let's check those comments again really quickly because I do want to see. Well, Don said Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland made your list.
Cleveland is on the early only slate, I think.
That would
explain. They're on the
explain.
main slate. At least on DraftKings. I don't know how FanDuel did theirs, but
I don't know if Don and you have to tell me if you're messing with me, Don, because somebody does guess Philly an awful lot, and it might be Don doing it just kind of to throw him out there because we're generally not on him other than Ramirez is a one-off. And no, I did not notice they were not even on the main slate today. So I've got a Brew Crew. I don't think that Milwaukee's going to be in there.
Milwaukee didn't even make my top 12. Boyd's been phenomenal. And if I'm going to use Milwaukee, it's basically Churio as a one-off.
Because I'm thinking, well, all right, we got 2 more tier 2 teams. I'm really curious about the Dodgers.
The Dodgers did make tier 2, debating moving them to tier 3, but Chase Burns' home run issues in this ballpark makes me want to be heavier on the Dodgers. A lot of things line up for the Dodgers, minus, like Betts is struggling. Freeman hasn't looked great, but Ohtani should have a big game, I would think. Teoscar's been rolling. Conforto actually grades out really, really well in this spot, which is gross to think about. But yeah, I
always avoid.
I'm just playing to the power of the Dodgers against Chase Burns.
Well, and Burns, I mean, like you said, with the home runs in the park and whatnot, but he's got a decent ISO against in terms of allowing some pop. So you can't argue the Dodgers can do it. That's not debatable. What else? Tattoos late to the party. Texas is the number 1 overall team for Razzle, which, that's why you missed it going outside. I won't be shocked if I'm wrong here, but I won't be shocked if I'm right. I want to say your other tier 2 team is actually the Athletics.
It is not.
Okay, good.
The debate for tier 2 came down to the Dodgers or the Athletics.
Okay. And the Dodgers might fall out of it as the more you think about it. Well, that leaves, I'll let everybody else figure it out. That leaves like New York, Boston. I don't know if you would take San Francisco or San Diego. Minnesota is a weird one today.
I thought I'd be higher on Minnesota, but they ended up in tier 3. Without Buxton, I don't really feel as great. So
did you get all the way down to the Cubs for tier 2? No.
The other tier 2 team is one that's been mentioned already, but we haven't designated them as a tier 2.
You said they were not tier 1. That was your answer. That's what we're missing.
Yeah.
That's where we're missing. And it was the first name we threw out. So, and that's probably why mentally I checked them off my list because I heard the name. And I was even trying to hold on to them to remember it for later. I got so tied up trying to pick out tier 2. It's not the Marlins, but I will tell you this: the Marlins they should be on everybody's radar tonight. St. Louis's pitching has been pretty sketch for a few weeks now. Do I think they're going to nut the slate? No, but they're super cheap and Palante's been giving up some fly balls instead of ground balls, and it's a mess. Danny Jansen traded to the Brewers, he says, what Darth is saying. Does anybody remember? I remember. Does anybody remember what what Razzle's tier 2 team was? For hints, it's the same one tattoo team seems to like a lot. So for those of you guys that have paid attention to the show, no matter the hosts, you've heard this team mentioned quite a bit. I've already got them inked into my page. Before they jump in, it should be Seattle, right?
It is Seattle. Really, they should be a tier 1 team. I just didn't want to do 3 tier 1 teams, but great ballpark. Taking on a pitcher that's given up 22 home runs, I think. Can't remember for sure, but it's a lot of home runs. The biggest thing for me is I'm tempted to leave Cal Raleigh out of most of my stacks and use Mitch Garver instead. But yeah, I mean, Seattle easily could be a tier 1. I just didn't want to mess with percentages to make everything work.
So there's tier 1s and tier 2. You want to rattle off your tier 3 teams really quick since it's a big slate, and then if you got anything to say about them, throw it in there. But we can move on probably to either dingers or questions from the crew. So really, truly, guys, get questions fired up if you've got questions.
Yeah, I mean, we already mentioned the A's would be tier 2 or tier 3. I mean, they almost made tier 2. Both Minnesota and Boston in that matchup are tier 3. Houston ended up in tier 3, and I still don't love it. As much as the leverage stacks give them green across most of the board. The Yankees, tier 3, without Judge against Drew Asmussen, who doesn't give up a ton of home runs. I was tempted to leave the Yankees out, to be honest. San Diego, tier 3, and then my last spot was Tampa Bay, who I don't love Tampa Bay on the road, but it is against a rookie pitcher who has had some struggles against left-handed bats, and we love left-handed bats in that ballpark. So that's the reason why they made it in. But I seriously debated the Cubs against Mizorowski in that spot as a low-owned GPP. It really be a pivot off of like the Philly stacks because they're very similarly priced, super expensive. But ultimately I passed on including the Cubs and going with the Rays from a softer matchup standpoint. I just don't love the Rays on the road. I've said it a lot in my videos. I use pitching against the Rays when they're on the road generally. But yeah, that's my top 12.
Anything to elaborate with Boston? Steve asked if they're a good team to stack today, and I know that they're tier 3, so you're not going to be super, super exposed to them, but you are going to have some exposure.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get Simeon Wood Richardson right. He's not very good, but then the times that I do stack heavy against him, he's just good enough. Like I love Bregman, I love Duran. They just feel much stronger as a mini stack team. But I mean, I will have 5-man stacks on DK, obviously, in my tier 3, but I feel much more comfortable as a mini stack just because, like, I don't know, Abreu's been struggling. I can't even think it. Like, some of the other names are just completely random. Roman Anthony hasn't really been on, so like I just feel stronger about them as a 2-man. And Edward Cal actually isn't my favorite Seattle player. It'd be Mitch Garver at Cal's position. So like a big change there. I like J-Rod too. Traditionally goes off in the second half, so it'd be those 2 players. But I really like Garver from a GPP game theory standpoint.
I have a question for you because I always get these 2 people confused in my mind. Not confused in my mind, but to me, they feel almost interchangeable, and they might not be. Rodriguez in Seattle or Teoscar in LA. To me, they feel very similar, like the same type of player.
I mean, like they both go super streaky. J-Rod's going to get you stolen bases. J-Rod has a better matchup tonight. Teoscar against the strikeout stuff of Chase Burns. Where Burns has had issues with left-handed bats more than right-handed bats. J-Rod has the better platoon advantage this evening. But, I mean, Teoscar's been swinging it well enough, so, like, people are going to use him too. And I'll use him as well, but
They just always make me laugh. They just, for whatever reason, when I think of them in my head, they just profile as kind of a very similar player to me, kind of one of those 4-tool, 5-tool type players that doesn't really hit for a ton of power, but does everything, pretty freaking well. And like you said, J-Rod's Teoscar's pretty streaky too. I think they're both.
He is.
Little up
he
and down.
definitely is. It's just like J-Rod started out the second half hot again, and he's done it for multiple years where like his first half is blah, or even like this year was they released Rowdy Tellez where his underlying numbers look pretty much the same as J-Rod's, and yet J-Rod went to the All-Star game. But now J-Rod just in the second half just heats up. I don't know if he just needs that large a sample size to warm up or what, but
15 years ago there was a St. Louis player that was a lot like that. I almost want to say it was Matt Holliday, but I don't think that's who I'm thinking of. But somebody you could set your clock by the fact that whoever I'm thinking of would have a slow first half and then would just flip a switch and would just repair all of his numbers, and he'd hit his career numbers. They'd be half of what they should be through the first half, and then all of a sudden by the second half he'd hit 420 bombs or some crazy crap like that. It might have been Jim Edmonds, Darth, but it's somebody in that era for sure. But if that's what J-Rod is, then really and truly you got to get on him before his price increases, because those guys usually come in with a suppressed salary at that that time frame. So you get on them and ride them on the way up. Don's asking, what about the Marlins?
just
Got
not
my
a team
opinion,
I like to fully stack. Too many base hits, really. And that's, what did I point out last week or 2 weeks ago when we were on the show about how I wasn't on St. Louis, like in Coors or something, because I felt like they had to get like 15 plus hits.
Right.
I wanted to point that, like, I should have brought it up in chat the next day. I think they ended up with like 10 to 12 hits and only scored 3 runs in that game. The Marlins feel very similar. Like, I like Stowers. Obviously, he's hit a bunch of home runs. I actually prefer right-handed bats against Payante. So, like, Heriberto Hernandez, if he's in the lineup, I haven't seen it. Maybe Augustin Ramirez, but he's not swinging it all that well. It's just the Marlins have a bunch of blah. Like, I don't really want to play Graham Pauley. I don't really want to play Eric Wageman. I don't want to play one of the other catchers if they're in the lineup. Don't really want to play Dane Myers against a right-handed pitcher. Never really like playing Otto Lopez. Xavier Edwards is fine. He's swinging it good. But, like, to get there, Xavier Edwards has to pick up a couple hits and steal a base because he's just not going to hit any power. He's like a faster version of Luis Ariz without Luis Ariz's elite contact ability. They're very similar players in everything else, but Ariz's bat to ball skills are just better.
How much did it shock you that Ariz is only hitting 285 or 290 at this point of the year? Doesn't it feel 30 points too low to you?
It shocks me, but then, like, when you look at the rest of the National League, like, there's just something up in the National League this year.
They're all low.
Like, Kyle Stowers might now be leading the National League in hitting at 300 or something. Like, Will Smith might be, but he might not qualify yet from a plate appearance standpoint. But that was just barely over 300 the last I looked. Like, Xavier Edwards is 290 or 290 to 295, and he's like third or fourth. So, like, it wouldn't shock me to see Ariz win the batting title.
Sure, just get kind of hot late. And
yeah, I mean, even just get to 310. 305 to 310, and then he probably wins it.
So does it feel, because it feels to me, my old boomer ass remembers when there were a handful over 300 every year. It seemed like it took about 330 to be in the discussion for the batting title. It felt like 280 was an okay hitter, but not great. Needed to be kind of over 300 to be considered a great hitter. These days, it feels like 240 almost is just kind of an okay hitter, and 270 is pretty damn good. And that just feels gross to me when I'm, so set in my boomer ways that 300 is the number. Seeing 270 and being like, damn, that guy's pretty stout this year, blah, 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 blah. It kind of gets hard to swallow. It gets hard to admit. Like, the game has obviously changed. It's harder to hit, for sure.
I don't really love seeing it, but I mean, it is what it is.
How would you change it, or do you think that's just a phase baseball's going through? Do you think it's the higher velo, a little bit of the defensive analytics and things like that, or do you think that just is enough to make the difference, or obviously the focus on not so much contact, but long ball or strikeout, all of that? How would you change it and bring back those numbers? Because it's obviously baseball's a more entertaining game when people are on the bases. It pressures the defense. They get to run around a little bit, gives you something to watch when you're in the stands. If there's 2 or 3 people on base, because the next hit of the bat, somebody's going to be running somewhere. Just, I don't know. What would you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is, or actually a lot of it is the way that we have, or Major League Baseball, I shouldn't say we, but Major League Baseball has rewarded just power over contact. So
and DFS accordingly.
The guys can strike out 200 times, get rewarded. Like, there was some conversation years ago about before they banned the shift, and like there's guys coming out saying they can't go the other way. Well, no, they can. Like, I'm telling you, from as a guy that played baseball until I was 32, I can tell you that based on training, you can flip the switch and go the other way whenever you want to in your mind. They just refuse to do it.
I got flamed by people that when I said they could. I'm like, these are professional major league hitters. They can look for pitches they can handle. They could go beat the damn shift if they wanted to. They just didn't.
I can guarantee you. So obviously I'm older, like, being 43. So when I was in high school, it's obviously 25 years ago.
You're almost a boomer.
But when I was in high school, I was training with major league coaches. One of them being the father of a major league all-star or a major league gold glove winner, Gary Varsho, Dalton Varshow's dad. And the entire training was to make sure that you don't, through whatever drill you're doing, is you're not pulling the ball at all.
Right. To
get your hands through. And then once you get your hands through, then you can hit the ball any direction.
Correct.
So, like, they definitely can do that. They just don't want to, is really what it is. And a lot of them got so defensive about it. It's because, like, they know they're wrong, but they don't want, like, that's the typical argument, even when non-baseball related. When somebody gets super defensive about their stance, they know they're wrong, but they just don't.
Ego get in the way, I guess. Maybe I'm autistic, but I wish Joey Votto was a Cardinal instead of a Red, because his mentality and his approach, Ichiro, Tony Gwynn, these types, man, that's, to me, that's like, I just saw the stat the other night. I was watching the Cardinals, of course, play the Padres, and Luis Ariz is, I think he's approaching 1,000 hits, or maybe it's more, maybe it's 1,500. I don't know, but they said he's only struck out like 200 times in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get it. His batting average is is his OPS, but at the same time, 200 times in his career, there's guys that strike out 200 times in a season.
You need guys like that, because pitchers aren't afraid of solo home runs anymore.
Right.
Like it just happened. So you need the guys that can hit. And
I swear
as soon as they start using strikeouts against them in contract negotiations, I just don't think we're going to see any changes again. And when they do, then we'll start seeing balls put in play more base hits. I mean, even those balls put in play turn into like hustle doubles too. So it's not like you're only flat hitting.
Yeah. That's kind of why I'm asking you if you think that's a phase in the game in like 20 years from now. We won't be worried about it so much because this has really held on. This little era, the analytics, sabermetrics type era that's telling people swing for the fences or strike out trying has gone on long enough that to me it's not a trend. It may just be the new way of doing things. I just wonder if it'll ever shift back. And I'm not talking about the 1980s Cardinals or any of that type of crap, but I mean something more in the middle than what we've been getting, because I know baseball is pushing towards action and, shorter times, shorter game times, blah, blah, blah. I know that's all stuff we can obviously talk about. Darth's right on with Rick Barry shooting granny style. Hangry asked if you're at all related to Rowdy Tellez. He feels like you guys could be cousins.
I wish I was, but no, I'm not related to Rowdy.
I'm with Dixon, man. Araz, I don't play to Araz much I love him as a baseball player. I think that dedicating yourself to beating the shift is the reason that Colton Wong extended his career another 5 years, because he made that shift here in St. Louis where he started hitting it the other way on purpose, and his batting average went up 20 points. I was like, that's why he was viable again.
I can tell you that guys will have a longer major league career if they work on contact.
Mm-hmm.
If they work the other way, they end up like Joey Gallo and out of baseball.
100%.
Or switching to being a pitcher, I guess Gallo did, but
100%.
He did it. I think it's Tyler Naquin's doing it too. Like, these are outfielders with a lot of swing and miss in their game. They're now pitchers. Arise, the way he's at right now, can play for as long as he wants, basically. Like, there's always going to be a spot for somebody like him on a bench somewhere.
Somebody that can come in and put the ball in play and more or less move runners over and do all the fundamental baseball. I just don't think the fundamentals change what makes the game great. And I don't know. We can bitch about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Give me a dinger call and we'll get out of here today.
And it's tough to not choose like Nick Kurtz, the way he's swinging it. I'm going to go back to like Royce Lewis as one of my favorite plays, DFS wise. And it looks like he's about to turn it on. Would not be shocked if we see a Jock Peterson home run, which feels gross at this point.
He feels like the old Chris Davis. I mean, somebody
who
really tore it up for a while, and then like you were talking about with Naquin and some of these other guys, just poof is all of a sudden nothing, and needs to get the way he's working on contact. I mean, Nolan Gorman is that guy, but much younger. These guys have got to figure it out.
I just think Jock has gotten out of shape. Like, Chris Davis was just always in shape. He just couldn't see. Like, I think Jock has just gotten lazy. Just getting these 1 and 2 year deals and living off of past. I would love to see Jock come back and all of a sudden catch fire. But, he's just one of those guys. I don't really know who else. I mean, I think Ohtani probably goes yard, but that's too simple. So
plus 150 or plus.
I'll go with Mitch Garver since I'm just gonna keep doubling and tripling down on Mitch Garver over Cal Raleigh. Probably gonna burn me, but whatever. Mitch Garver goes yard tonight.
All right, cool. That's 4 or 5. I asked for 1. Y'all got 4 or 5. Razzle's being an overachiever, so hopefully everybody else today overachieves and gets their lineups up there on the top of that leaderboard. As always, as you see down below, MLB Live, 10% off any membership that you guys want during the show. That's a coupon to use because friends don't let friends pay retail. For me, For Razzle, for everybody here at DFS Army, thanks for always tuning in and asking questions. And I guess we will see you all tomorrow. You got me in tattoo for tomorrow and Wednesday, and then you'll see me back with Razzle on Friday. If I said that right, I'm just saying shit now instead of listening to what I'm saying. So that said, we'll talk to everybody in Discord. Razzle, I'll let you tell everybody goodbye, and then I'm going to hit the button.
All right. We're out, and good luck.
Amen. See you, boys.
Got the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block. Helmets, casket is got. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision. We got too many. Tick your check. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted.